Let's weigh in on the Suryakumar Yadav decision. The umpire took a long time, eventually said it was inconclusive, and went to the on-field umpire's soft signal, which was out. Let's just get into what you would have done in that situation. Sanjay, was the third umpire right?
See, the third umpire's job is to look at the evidence, and if there is evidence that is strong enough to overturn what was a soft signal on the field, he has to overturn it. And based on the evidence that he saw there, and there was clearly one still picture that saw, which led you to believe that the ball was touching the turf. Having said that, I think what has to be incorporated in all the replays that the third umpire gets, especially with tricky low catches, is that they get real-time replay as well. Because he looked most out, Surya, when we saw the real-time replay of that catch. Once we slowed it down, put the zoomer on it, he looked more out. So if I was a third umpire, I would have kept it very simple. I've got evidence there which seemed to suggest that the ball is touching the ground, and I would have ruled that as not out.
Ian?
Yeah, well, I think it's very hard. Again, it's amazing how an umpire can judge a soft signal from 50 yards. We understand close catches and certain things that happen close to the bat. Certainly in Test match cricket, you get a bit of a feel for that. But to judge something that's so far away and give a soft signal is a real tough thing to do. So whether that should happen and just leave the whole thing up to the third umpire would be an interesting one. But yeah, as it all gets, and generally when things get slowed down more often, you get a feel for it. You get a bit more of an opinion that it has bounced. But for me there, I think if the soft signal was either way, it would have stayed that way, if that makes sense. Or if there was no soft signal, I think it would have been given not out.
Okay, so is that...
a big takeaway from that particular instance, and that incident would be that the ICC also incorporate the real-time replay as a standard protocol for the third umpire to see. Yeah.
Okay, I got that. But Ian, so for you, that's okay. It could have gone either way. It's not one that was conclusive enough to overturn the on-field soft signal. You're okay?
I don't think it was at that time. I mean, it would have been very big to say. England would have been unhappy if that was overturned. I think there's a balance, isn't there? Because I'd imagine umpires would have looked at Milan at the time and he said, I've caught the ball. So you've got to sort of, in that spirit of the game, you nearly trust the fielder as well. So that's sort of where they've tried to use that, and I would have thought their decision as well. So there's a balance, isn't there, between not do you go that hasn't carried and you don't trust Milan the fielder, and then there's all sorts of balances to be had on the field at that time. I think they've gone the safe route by going with the fielder, giving it out, and then let the third umpire overturn anything that looks really bad, to be honest with you.
All right. Now, I have no doubt that the fielder might well think he's caught it. So there's no questioning the integrity of the fielder. It's just about what the replay in that time shows. Now, you open another interesting point, which has triggered a debate on social media too, on whether the soft signal makes sense in itself when there's adjudication to be made at the boundary from the umpire who's several yards away. So is that something that needs to be looked at again? Maybe just take away the soft signal and allow for the TV umpire to judge this independently without what could at times confuse you more if there is an on-field soft signal. Ian?
I would probably say so. From that distance, again, to judge something that's 50, 60 yards away is particularly hard, isn't it? So it does raise questions, there's no doubt. And I reckon if there was no soft signal there, I think the third umpire would have given that not out.
As it turns out, Sanjay, we also saw one more incident where the soft signal's sanctity can be questioned when the Washington Sundar wicket was being looked at. You're asking the umpire again for a soft signal there when it's about millimeters, again, 60, 70 yards away, on whether the fielder's foot is touching the rope.
Yeah, but soft signals are not only for, boundary catches. Soft signals also applicable to a catch taken, say, by the square leg umpire. And the field right there, I mean, the umpire there would have a better view. And having done enough, television coverages and commentated on, matches, I've seen many times with low catches. Once you slow it down, the picture becomes grainy, and because it's two-dimensional, you sometimes, get some kind of, a different view of what actually happened. So I don't mind the soft signal at all, because not only with 75, 80 meters, because it is part of the protocol, they have to give some kind of soft signal. But if you look at that particular Suryakumar, catch, and you play it real time, and you'll see that's what the umpires on the field would have seen, and it looked very out when you see it in real time. But once you slow it down, then the doubts come. I have absolutely no issue with soft signal. It's just another sort of perspective.
All right, fair enough. Yes, Ian. And what I wanted to ask as a follow-up to that was, should the soft signal be removed for the boundary catches? Keep it for the close-in catches, but then how do you sort of make that kind of distinction? What's a good enough view for the umpire and what's not? Yes, Ian?
Well, it's a good one for the ICC, isn't it? That, but I think you're right. I think for me, again, you want to keep the umpires. Like I said, it's very hard for most fielders when they're going for low catches. You generally feel like that you go off your feel, don't you, of how it goes in your hands. So there's no fault on the fielders' behalf. But I think making decisions that are so far away in a soft signal is a very difficult thing to do. And maybe you just take that away from the umpires for the distance boundary catches.
Okay.
I have a different view on that. Let's not get that as it is so many technicalities in the game. So soft signal for 40-meter catches and no soft signal for 75. Let the soft signal be there, and the third umpire be trained not to get too carried away by what the soft signal is, and just look at the evidence that he's got in front of himself. And when it becomes like a marginal call and it's not very conclusive, you go back to the umpires on that.